Is it rolling?
Yeah, you're good whenever.
Alright, here we are. We're going to take a look at Rich Area today running, and we're going to break down some of the fundamental problems that occur. He runs incredibly well, but what we're going to do is take him out to that level at which he starts to break down, which tends to be in those 5Ks, things like that, where he has to push it. But what we're going to do is do it with an interval. We've kind of ramped him up. We will have ramped him up to a longer duration interval at intense level, and we're going to expose what's going on, and then we're going to translate that over to how we train it and what we do, and some of the fundamental things we like to do in order to change that stuff. Cool? How warmed up are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Got the heart rate up, got the sweat going.
Okay.
Ready to suffer a little bit.
Ready to run on the Woodway curve. So we're going to go about a minute right now and just take a look at this. See, he's got really good running form. What we'd like to do is get his upper body a little more stable, and he's going to work towards that as I say it too, which is only going to make this thing a little bit more intense. Let me show you what that looks like from the front, where he is kind of crossing over a little bit. You can see him start to break down. His feet are actually landing really well, kind of what we went over the other day, but things are starting to get exposed. Keep going, Rich. And where we're going to start to see this deterioration, and you'll see his body start to twist a little bit more. He starts driving his feet down more. Boom. Radical. How'd that feel?
It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
What was that, 1 minute?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, what'd you feel going?
It's just...
And this is important, guys, because this is like you going out there and running, and what you're feeling is important, because if what Rich is feeling isn't what was occurring, that's a problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. It just becomes harder to pull, and then as it becomes harder to pull, I feel myself reverting back to getting up on the toes as opposed to midfoot, heel kissing the ground. And then as that happens, I feel more of a push, and that's kind of where I got that stumble.
Where those feet get heavy again, it's a... You know, that's you actually accelerating down, trying to get your foot back on the ground because you're breaking down, and you don't want to. You want to be in contact with that ground. But the interesting thing is almost from the get-go, it was that upper body torque.
Yes.
So that torque occurring in that midline from side to side, which is something we want and have to fix, because we understand that the more stable you are in that torso, in that midline, with the posture, the more efficient and effective you can be running. Okay? So let's take a look at some things that we can do to fix that and see if we can translate that over and get you to stabilize that a little bit better here after. Cool?
Sounds good.
Alright, so let's take a look at Rich pressing here. There's going to be... very quickly we're going to see where a breakdown occurs, just in how he approaches bar and what he does with the bar and how he goes overhead with the bar. So let's just watch this and then we'll kind of break it down. Anything anybody's picking up on? Press it, get overhead with it. Lock it out, hold. Overextended. First thing. So, go ahead, Raggett. So one of those first things that he's doing when he approaches the bar is he's getting underneath it, and he's automatically here turned on for tight, which is what everybody... which is not everybody, but what we see with a lot of people, this automatic position of overextended is, and this is not tight. This is not that position we're talking about. And I actually just showed Rich a video of Haile Gebrselassie running and how stable the guy was. It was just literally how, and he was breaking the 10K world record at the time. We were watching the video, and how stable everything was through here versus what he was doing with his limbs. And the limbs moving around the stable midline. So if you're automatically setting up, and why is it I would do this or take this and translate it with running, is the fact is if I can get him to learn to stable under this load and approaching weight and load and adding load, and what he does when he goes overhead, neck out, back overturned, and he thinks what is tight is, yet the glutes aren't exactly turned on, the midline, the belly button's not drawn in tight, and we're not locked out overhead properly and extended with that humerus, okay? So let's see if we can correct it a little bit, fix that with him, and have him address it a little bit differently. So that hollow rock position that we talk about, yep, we don't want to be too flexed forward, but you can still have big chest, draw the shoulders back and down, get under the bar, we're tight, nothing moves, we stand with the hip, okay, and you can see he's already in a better position with that low back where it's not arched as much, which is good. So now we want to see if he can just press that bar with that weight in the same manner up overhead while maintaining integrity. Boom! Open shoulder, open hip, and he's not as overextended. A few new things for Rich to think about when he's pressing, and this would be something we could do with pressing. We could absolutely translate this over into squatting, into deadlifting, into thrustering, into whatever it is we want to do. And for each more complex movement we've got, what we're going to see is these fundamental breakdowns in what it is for something so monostructural as in running, or something that's just in a linear fashion, in this linear fashion that he's running, and how we're seeing the breakdown from side to side, okay? We know that by exposing these things with more compound movements and more functional movements, that if we can teach him how to stabilize under that load, that stressor is teaching him how to stabilize more when he's actually running. And we'll see if we'll go through a bunch of sets of this with him and get him, you know, really tuned in with this, kind of staying tight a little bit more. Then we'll take it back over to the run. We'll see if we can have him run and stabilize a little bit more. All right, so here we are back on the treadmill. Gonna check out, see if Rich can oh wow, does look like he can stabilize. Holy crap, look at that. Okay, now don't bounce up and down so much, and I'll keep this. Better, dude. Just staying tight. So obviously we're going at a much slower speed. I'm going to have him speed it up a bit. See if he can maintain. Starting to break a little bit here and there. Keeping that belly button drawn in, which is going to result in diaphragm breathing. Much better and stable. Awesome, dude. Relax. So, how much harder is that to work at as you're running while maintaining that integrity of that spine? Of the posture, of everything you want to do.
After talking about it and thinking about it, seemed a little bit easier. I think picking up the pace a little bit, you start to fall in and out of it, like, and you.
Yeah, and you're gonna do that, and you're gonna do that, and it's that conscious effort of you trying, of you implementing that and getting it tighter and understanding it and being able to crank up that intensity, that we're developing that skill, and it's a constantly evolving thing that we're working on. So now it's just like you're that more screwed up for running. So now you just got that much more to think about.
Well, it's good because you think about that, then you don't think about how much you're hurting or pace or anything like that. You're just
exactly
thinking about maintaining everything, takes your mind off of everything else, and then gives you something to focus on as opposed to how I'm feeling or what's going on around you. You know, you're more in tune. So
perfect.
It's good.
Cool. All right. So now people can go home, work on your press, and see how see how you can translate that over into running.
Don't overextend.
You can take any of these things and kind of do that, and we'll kind of take a look at that down the road. But this is one of them. So cool. Thanks.